Manx Radio Sport.
Welcome to Saturday Sport, classified on Manx Radio AM 1368. Results, reaction and analysis to all of the football and rugby and sporting action elsewhere for the Isle of Man, on the Isle of Man and further afield. But as always, we'll kick things off with the classified sporting results for today, Saturday the 6th of September 2025. So they are as follows, starting with football. The Canada Life Men's Premier League. Corinthians 10, Foxdale 1. Union Mills 3, Braddon 3. St Mary's 2, Onken 3. Ramsey 1, Laxey 3. Ayr United 4, Douglas High School Old Boys 2. Russian United 3, Peel 2. Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2. Maloo 2, Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys 1. St George's vs Moran awaiting result. Castletown 10, Douglas Royal 1. Colby 4, Douglas and District 0. In Canada Life Combination 1. Foxdale 0, Corinthians 8. Braddon 2, Union Mills 2. Onken vs St Mary's awaiting result. Laxey vs Ramsey awaiting result. Douglas High School Old Boys vs Ayr United awaiting result. Peel 2, Russian United 2. Ardern and Drug Unlimited Combination 2. Governors Athletic vs Gyms awaiting result. Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys vs Maloo postponed. Moran vs St George's awaiting result. Michael United 1, Pulrose United 3. Douglas Royal 3, Castletown 4. Douglas and District 2, Colby 2. And in the NWCFL Premier Division, Burscough 5, FC Isle of Man 0. Turning to rugby, the Regional 2 Northwest. Douglas 26, North Ribblesdale 22. Counties 3 ADM Lancashire and Cheshire. Congleton 33, Ramsey 20. Burnley 24, Vagabonds 0. Those are your classified sporting results for Isle of Man on Saturday the 6th of September 2025. And as you may have heard there, or if you didn't hear just a moment ago, we are still awaiting a few results from the Isle of Man football fixtures across the island today. If you have any details, you may have heard a fixture there that you haven't heard a scoreline for, we are awaiting a result for. If you have any details, please do let us know. Text or WhatsApp 166 177. Love to get those details out there. Well, let's turn our attention then to the football and fixtures that have been taking place today. Game day 3, what is the second weekend of the Isle of Man football season, and plenty to talk about as usual. With us is our football correspondent, Tony Mepham. Tony, very good evening. A busy day, it seems, across the divisions.
Busy day, some big scores, some important scores, some surprise scores. We got a bit of everything in there, and we could do with some scores. So if the clubs there who have just heard that we've got no result in, if you can text through, please 166 177. Rob will pick it up on the screen, and we'll give the goal scorers, if there is any, a mention.
Almost by magic there, Tony. We have had a couple of those through, so just a couple more full-time results. Thank you very much for sending those through to us. In fact, there's a couple of them filtering through now. Fantastic stuff. So we'll start with one of those that we were waiting on in Ardern and Drug Unlimited Division 2. It has finished Moran 3, St George's 2 there over at Glencrutchery Road. So Moran taking victory away from home at St George's by 3-2. Another that has filtered through to us in Canada Life Combination 1, an entertaining one over between Onken and St Mary's. 3-3 it is finished between Onken and St Mary's over in Canada Life Combination 1. And also in Canada Life Combination 1, it was the latest result we had on the full-time show in the last hour, and it has remained that way. Laxey 2, Ramsey 2 is now a full-time score in Canada Life Combination 1. Thank you very much for sending those details through to us. We'll take a look through the respective fixtures in just a moment. So, Canada Life Men's Premier League, Tony. We'll start with the game between Corinthians and Foxdale that was taking place over at Ballyfletcher. Corinthians, a very strong start to the season. Started this weekend, the very early stage of the season. Top of the table, 2 wins from 2. Top by virtue of goal difference up against the Foxdale team that I found it difficult in those first 2 games, and it was certainly difficult for them today. This is emphatic by Corinthians, a real statement win at Ballyfletcher. Corinthians beating Foxdale by 10-1.
Yeah, last time I heard when I left the bowl was Corinthians were 5-1 up, so it was probably about 30-40 minutes to go. But when I went up, it was all Corinthians. Matthew Quirk, didn't really have anything to do, and it was just awesome. And you can see why, because when you've got people like Luke Murray, Sean Doyle, Dan Simpson racing down on you, it's not nice, and there's a lot of ability in there. But what caught my eye was actually one or two of the younger players. Ryan Nelson not many people will probably, unless you're my age, will know a player that had multiple caps, over 1,000 I think it was, for Russian. Eric Nelson, it's his grandson. And, amazing player. He's 17 years of age, I think. Just watched him at that right fullback, and he scored one. It was disallowed. But he's definitely a star of the future. Superb. And Oscar Watterson as well. He's improved so much over the last couple of years and deservedly got a goal today. But when you look at the scoring, Luke Murray with 4, got a hat-trick midweek. Amazing performance by him. Sean Doyle got 2. When you think of it, Sean only got about 50 minutes of the first half and 45 in the second half against Braddon and scored a hat-trick, so he's on fire. And Dan Simpson got 2 now. Bit of a statement coming out to me from Blaine Slattery, who was used to be the manager of the Ireland team, was he saw heat in his eyes, the best goal he's ever seen in Manx football, and that was Sean Doyle today, the third goal for Corinthians. So it just shows you that Corinthians are playing really well, and the sort of younger players that are coming in are learning off people like sort of Sean and Luke and Dan. Probably the only sort of sour note is on Tuesday night, and a person that you know very well, Ronan McDonald, broke his right foot again. He broke it for playing for FC Isle of Man. Same foot, same sort of injury. So we wish Ro, he's on crutches, and we wish him well. He was past fit to play by the medical team, but obviously got caught on Tuesday, and it's back to square one for him. So speedy recovery for him. But great performance by Corinthians, and for Foxdale, it was Charlie Harrison who got the goal.
Indeed. Just quickly on Foxdale there, Tony, it's been a tough start to the season for them, and when we spoke on Friday Sport Preview last night, you did point out a couple of key players have left the club as well. You point out the likes of Jason Charmer, Andrew Ball and Lee Gale as well. So do you think it was always going to be difficult trying to replace the quality of players that have left?
Exactly, and Andy Ball's a good goalkeeper. He's gone to Ayr United, and when you look at Jason Charmer, Lee Gale, they're both Ireland players, and when you lose a lot of goals like they have like that, then it just puts the pressure on the rest of the team, and it's a shame because Foxdale have worked so hard to get back into the Premier League. They've got back in. There's still a lot of good players there, but when you just look now at the team right the way round, you can just see lack of confidence, and when you're playing against a team that's banging form, it's very, very difficult to deal with, Rob, and hopefully they get it right, and they get the goals and the points that'll keep them in the Premier League.
We'll wait and see. We had an entertaining game over at Gary Moore today as well. 6 goals involved and evenly shared. It's Unimills and Braddon getting their first points, respectively, of the season. I'm sure both sides would have loved to have walked away with all 3, but not to be the case. They'll have to settle for a point each. So points on the board. Unimills 3, Braddon 3.
Yeah, and let's go back to Braddon midweek. I watched them against Corinthians, and yes, Corinthians won and scored plenty of goals, but I just thought Braddon played really well. They're a good side, and I saw another good side today, young side in Onken, but Mark O'Neill, he's really on fire because he scored 2 great goals midweek and got another one today. Dylan Barton got a goal as well, and Nick Harvey, Nick's looks fit. He's used to be a gymnast. And last time I saw him playing football, I thought, wow, he's looking really strong. But on Tuesday, he was running all over the place. So that's a big plus for Braddon. Don't know who got Unimills goals. If you could text us through, please, 166 177. But I think Braddon will be happy with a point because Unimills are one of those teams I think that are going to be battling in that bottom 6 area. But sort of today, they've got 3 more goals, which is great for them to see. And when I look at sort of the players that they've got in there, I think Braddon will be all right and they'll grow as the season goes.
Then we'll turn our attention to the early kick-off today, Tony, the game that you were at the bowl between St Mary's and Onken. Now, this had a bit of a late twist in the tail. It seemed like an entertaining one from just listening into your reports, Tony. Big win this for Onken against the St Mary's team, who you've pointed out on numerous occasions over the years, the quality they have in different areas. Onken winning this one by 3 goals to 2.
Yeah, and I just went into this game, I think St Mary's will win this clearly. And when you look after 6 minutes, it was Jack Murray. Ball played over to the left hand side, and the defender was with Jack, but I think Jack just clipped it with his right foot, and it caught out Kirill Valev, the goalkeeper. Sorry, not Kirill Valev, Callum Dawson, and into the net it went. And I thought they'll just grow on that one, because when you look at people like Jack McVeigh, Carl Clark, Therese Thompson in there, you've got Carl Henson, is it Mark Wolfenden? It's a really strong side. And when I look after that sort of first goal, Mark Wolfenden could have easily maybe had 3 or 4 goals. A couple went wide, one was saved by the keeper, and the one, a speculative one from the halfway line, Rob, a little bit wind assisted, but he spotted the keeper off his line, and Mark just hoofed it, but unfortunately for him it didn't go in. Dawson was good in goal, Callum Dawson for Onken. Morgan Beckley hit the bar as well, but it was the man that caught my eye. I think there's 2 or 3 for Onken. We'll look at them individually. I thought certainly Tom Creer was 1. Josh Kenyuk was 2, who played really well. And then Ethan, who played up front for Onken, looked really strong right the way through. And it was him that scored the goal. And it was Tom Creer who created it. It was going out a little bit to the right-hand side. Tom managed to get the cross in. And there was Ethan to put it into the back of the net on 43 minutes. And what a time to score just before half-time, 1-1. Then when the second half started, Onken was just brimming with confidence. And Tim Creer it was who turned well and placed the ball past the net to make it 2-1 on 55 minutes. 62, it looked like Wolfenden was going to score. Morgan Beckley had a chance as well, went over the bar. McVeigh had an effort, and then Dawson pulled off a couple of good saves. Tom Creer shot wide on 77 minutes, and then on 80, Jack McVeigh free kick, and it was well placed. Keeper touched it, hit the bar, and came back out, and there was Therese Thompson unmarked and fired it past with 10 minutes to go to make it 2-2, and I thought, game's over. But Tom Creer had different ideas, and even though he's marshalled by 2 St Mary's players, it didn't happen for them. They couldn't defend against him, and Tom Creer put it to the goalkeeper's right-hand side to make it 3-2, and the place went absolutely mental, to be honest with you, because it meant so much to Onken. And I think that performance from a very, very young side, was worthy of the 3 points. And I did say to you, off air or on air, I can't remember, I can't see Braddon going down because of the players that they've got. And I'm going to say the same about Onken. I think Onken are too strong. Them young players there have improved so much over the last sort of 6 months. So well done to 2 lots of coaches at Braddon and Onken for getting those 2 teams to play good football, and the results so far have showed that.
Yeah, good result for Onken. In the North, the Island, Ramsey took on Laxey. Laxey themselves were looking to maintain a perfect start to the season, 2 wins from 2. They've now made it 3 wins from 3. They had to do it the hard way, though, because Ramsey took the lead in this one, but Laxey going on to win it by 3-1, Tony. Yeah, and it was
Ramsey who took the lead. Phil Dunnigan, who played for Ayr last year, signed for Ramsey. And then I think they conceded a penalty. I've got a bit of a match report if I can get it up, and we'll come back to one. D. Turton sent me one in as well for Corinthians. But for Ramsey, and thanks for this, Laxey started the game strong with Ramsey's defence consistently on the back foot, but everything changed on 12 minutes when Phil Dunnigan scored a sublime volley to put Ramsey 1 up. Ramsey then started pushing forward, but Laxey wouldn't fold to the pressure, and after 25 minutes, Ramsey were awarded a penalty. Up steps Matthew Jauncey to put it wide, so at half-time, Ramsey went in 1 up. Second half again, Laxey started stronger but couldn't find that goal until Cam Nelson got sent off with Laxey doing a triple substitution, and Ramsey started to sit back. That's when Laxey started pushing and found that goal they deserved by super sub Matty Ogden. Shortly followed by their second by Tom Smith. I think that's 2-2 for him. And then with 12 minutes left on the clock, Matthew Ogden scored for the Miners to go 3-1 up. And shortly after going down to 9 men, with Joe Walters getting a second yellow, Ramsey started pushing again, but it was too late and the game finished Ramsey 1, Laxey 3. Man of the match, Andy Cleto, doesn't surprise me there, who popped up all over the pitch. Referee Andy Glover had a great game with 5 yellows and 2 reds, but communicated well with the players, so no complaints. So thanks to Paul Turner for that report, and well done to Laxey, winning that game 3-1 and finishing up with only 9 players on the park, but that could prove costly for them in future games.
Certainly something to think about going into the coming weeks. Well, elsewhere in the north of the island, Ayr United took on new boys, back to the Premier League this season, Douglas High School Old Boys, and this was quite close for a while, wasn't it, Tony, particularly in the first period, but Ayr United just finding the quality in the second half just to pull away in this one. Ayr United going on to beat Douglas High School Old Boys by 4-2 at Andrews playing fields.
Yeah. Old Boys were on up, Rob, as well, so that was a bit of a surprise in that one, but well done to Ayr United, and they're not lying down, are they, at all, but sorry about this, I don't know the Christian name, but A. Reid got a goal for United, but Jamie Callister popped us as well. He got the second, Sean Kelly got the third, and Jed Fisher got his name on the score sheet as well. Haven't got Old Boys goal scorers, 166, 177 please if you could, but another 3 points in the bag for Ayr.
It's Alex Reid, found out as well.
Excellent.
So Alex Reid with the opening goal there for Ayr United today. And the other game, the Canada Life Men's Premier League, well, it was late drama here in what some describe as the old firm between Russian United and Peel. Russian United looking to make it 3 wins from 3, one of those 3 sides along with Corinthians and Laxey going into the weekend with perfect start to the season. Defending Premier League champions Peel, though, just a little bit off the pace in these first 2 games, very early stages of the season, of course. Sounded like an entertaining one, Tony, and it was late drama at the end because Russian United managed to beat Peel by 3-2. Yeah,
they did, and Peel at the end were down to 10 players as well, and it was Andrew Crennel who got sent off. That's a shame because he's important for Peel at the back. Thomas Brown got another goal, so that's 6 and 3 for him. Jason Chalmer with his first goal for Peel's first team, and it was for Russian, Jamie Cadwallader got one, Charlie Jackson got his name on the score sheet, and Aaron Hawley got the other one. And if I can, Rob, please, because Dean Turton's put a report in from Ballyfletcher, and I did say we'd give it a mention. It is a lengthy one, but you've given me permission. The Whites started fast. Just 6 minutes in, Declan Blake found the far corner after neat work down the right. Jamie Lord kept Foxdale in it with a smart stop from Dan Simpson, 1-on-1. Then a twist. Ryan Burns miscontrolled. Charlie Harrison pounced and from 35 yards lifted a brilliant lob over Matty Quirk to make it 1-1. The response was ruthless. Luke Murray powered in a header from a Simpson cross. Then the goal of the game, maybe the season, maybe ever. From their own box it went Burns to Simpson, Simpson to Riding, back to Burns for an outside of the foot pass into Declan Blake. He slipped to Simpson on the overlap, squared across the box, and Sean Doyle tapped it in. I think it was 8 passes in total, all one touch, end to end, half time 3-1. Foxdale's high line did catch Corinthians out a few times. Second half, and Foxdale rolled the dice. Jay Chatwood came on up front after flying back from Spain. Well done, Jay. This morning, landing an hour earlier. The restart was more even for the first 10 minutes. Then Barton Beaumont went off with a suspected shoulder problem for Foxdale. Wish you well, Barton. And Darren Kane looked to pull a hamstring for Corinthians. Simpson almost scored direct from a corner. Lord palmed it away. Then Corinthians turned the screw. 4-1 as Simpson drove down the left and hung across to the back post. Murray arrived and nodded in. Foxdale shuffled the pack with Chatwood dropping to centre-back. The fifth came soon after. Simpson's corner looked like it went straight in, though Smith claimed a touch on the line, one of the dubious goals panel. Corinthians were in cruise control. Ryan Nelson came down on the right-hand side of Freedom of Ballyfletcher to deliver 6-1 with 15 to play. A long throw for Simpson found Doyle. He cushioned the ball to Murray and he hammered it in from 8 yards for his hat-trick. 7-1. Route 1 this time. Simpson nipped in behind and coolly dinked Overlord from just inside the area. Nearly done. It then went 8-1 when Smith's throw released Nelson. His cross bounced awkwardly.
Is the battery going to last for
I
this
think
whole
so.
report, is it?
I'm getting tidy and here's a drink. And Oscar Watterson finished with an acrobatic overhead. The slowest you will see, but they all count. 9-1. Followed shortly after Nelson again down that right-hand side. Mentioned him before. Simpson with the shot, and it deflected off the diving head of Chatwood into the net. Lord still kept fighting. A late save with his trailing leg to deny Doyle with 2 to play. But on the final whistle, Doyle did get one more, heading in on the line from a riding knockback. Corinthians were dominant outside, relentless with their crossing and clinical in the area. Foxdale bright moment was Harrison's lob, and their keeper Lord prevented an even bigger score. The final score at Ballyfletcher was Corinthians 10, Foxdale 1. Thank you very much, Dean.
Comprehensive comprehensive, that report. No,
I hope
great
Dean
to hear.
gets a 0-0 next week.
Okay, moving on. Ardern and Drungan Limited Division 2, 4 games this weekend, and of course we covered on Friday Sport Preview yesterday there are some changes coming in for Ardern and Drungan Limited Division 2 this season. Teams will now play each other 3 times throughout the season after 2 teams, Jims and Douglas Athletic, who were due to play in Division 2 at the start of the season, both made the decision only to field combination sides for this season, meaning there are only 10 teams in Division 2 for the current campaign. So teams will play each other once at home and once away, and then the third game between teams, the venue is still to be decided whether a team will play at home or away. That'll be decided later in the season. Meantime, of those 4 games, we'll start with what happened over at Clackvane today between Malou and Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. Close one this one, Tony, but Malou just about edging it by 2-1.
Yeah, it's a good performance by Malou, and well done to them, because they've had to put a lot of work in this summer to get the 2 teams together. And for Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys, it was Cameron Parson who got the goal, but for Malou, 2 regular goal scorers in Manx football. Paddy Cooper got one, well done Paddy, and Jordan Kripner got the other one. So good 3 points out for Malou.
And then elsewhere over at Glencrutchery Road, it was one of the results that filtered through to us just as the show started. St George's 2, Moran 3.
Yeah, and I don't think we've got any information on that, Rob. Have we? Any goal scorers?
Nothing yet at the moment,
No.
so just to echoes Tony's message as well. If you do have any information on that one, St George's 2, Moran 3 in Division 2 today. Any information on scorers or
Yes,
anything
please.
else besides, please do let us know. Text or WhatsApp 166 177. Elsewhere, now Tony, you had your eye on this game in Ardern and Drungan Limited Division 2 this weekend, because Castletown went into this as one of only 2 teams, along with Pulrose United, to win their opening 2 games. Pulrose without a game this weekend, incidentally, going up against the Douglas Royal team, who had a strong start to the season, and Castletown a big statement today down in the south of the island, beating Douglas Royal by 10-1, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely flying. When I saw Douglas Royal's score for the first game of the season, I thought, wow, Royal are going to be strong here, because a lot of people were sort of tipping and talking about them, but Castletown, ding-dong it was. And Robert Tier with a hat-trick, Alex Crawley got 3, Lewis Dean, Lewis Ollier I've got here, and Ollie Lee, and Charlie Quirk as well were the goal scorers for Castletown, so well done to them. And, Douglas Royal haven't got their goal scorer, but, Castletown are really putting a statement out there. Probably last year underachieved, but this year the younger players are wiser. Robert Tier, I noticed last year, Rob, I think he cleaned up at the dinner. I think he took near enough every senior trophy he could have got. So I think it was about 5 or 6, so well done to him, and well done to Castletown the way they're going at the moment.
The other game, the South and Island, took place at Station Fields. Good result for Colby, beating Douglas and District by 4-0.
Yeah, much better performance by Douglas and District. Jordan Edge on the score sheet again. Couple more goals for him. Seb Spears got one as well. And Johnny Croft with a rarity. Probably left boot knowing Johnny. But good result for Colby.
Quickly looking then at the combination leagues, looking over to Billygoat Park. Foxdale beaten 8-0 by Corinthians. Yeah,
and Corinthians looking pretty strong in this league as well. But Ben Ramsey, new signing, under-18s player of the year last year, and signed for Corinthians. He got a hat-trick. Well done, Ben. Noah Vowles as well got a couple of goals. Caleb Hugel got one, and Lewis Radcliffe got a goal as well. Archie Walter got one, so plenty of goals going in, and clean sheet will please the manager. But when you look at Russian, Peel, Ramsey, they're strong teams in that league, so it looks like it's going to be a closer battle this year for Combination 1, and that's what we want.
Before we get on to the other results, just had a little bit of a report through as well on that game over at Clackvane between Malou and Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys. A great shift from Malou today against Ramsey Youth Centre and Old Boys, played up the slope with the wind first half and had the visitors pinned in. A superb header from Paddy Cooper made it 1-0, then Brandon Kripner scored from close range after the keeper spilt Whitley's effort. Second half, Malou defended very well, and Jake Gandy made a couple of top saves, and a goal with 8 minutes left made it close, but Malou, they believe they got a deserved 3 points. They're describing it as a dream return to the dugout for Cal Alexander, and they also say it was great to see a great crowd up behind them as well, and they say what a difference a few months makes. They also wanted to say a huge well done to Sam Palmer in the middle, who refed superbly, 5-star performance, so that's very good to hear.
Sam's getting some great reports, and he's a newish referee, 3-4 years or something like that, so credit to them. And like the game I was at today, Andy Lodge, I won't say his age, but he's older than me, but cruise control, it was just a pleasure to watch an experienced referee control a game. And I said to him afterwards, I thought you missed a red, but we'll not mention the incident, but he accepted that. He said I couldn't see, so I couldn't give it, but I knew something had gone on, and that's fair enough. No linesman, couldn't be helped.
I mean, generally, you see it everywhere, don't you? Referees can come in for a lot of scrutiny, I think, to put it one way across all levels of football. So to hear comments that their performances are being commended and are commendable is always a positive sign. Back to Canada Life Combination 1. 2-2 between Braddon and Union Mills.
Yeah, and for Braddon, it was Patel who got one goal. Charlie Knight got the other one. Haven't got Union Mills goal scorers, but good point that, I think, for Braddon.
And a draw as well between Onken and St Mary's. Slightly higher scoring, 3-3.
Yeah, Onken won Combi 2 last year, didn't they? So we knew they were going to be strong. Or Combi 1, I should say. But just look at St Mary's. They've got some good players come into the first team. So that means that the players can filter down into the combination. And right old battle. Points shared and 3-3, good game.
Draw as well between Laxey and Ramsey, 2-2.
Yeah, and I think Laxey are going well because, Laxey normally mid-table maybe in the combination. Ramsey are always high up there. I know there are a few players missing, but today they found it really difficult against Laxey. Haven't got their goal scorers, but point shared.
And one of the results we were waiting for at the start of the programme, Douglas High School Boys versus Ayr United. Tony, have we had any updates?
I think we have, and I think Dean Turton has just sent it to me. Thanks, Dean, on that one, and we'll see if we can get that one up. And it was Old Boys 2, Ayr United 1, but we've got no goal scorers. And Combi 1, we've got the score in. Thank you, Malcolm. Ramsey's scorers were Connor Bloomer with 1, and the other one, 2. Connor Bloomer got 2.
And the other game in Canada Life Combination 1, another draw, 2 apiece between Peel and Russian United. Yeah,
Toby Little got 4 goals midweek. Well, he got 2 goals today, so good performance by him. Good game this, and Peel are looking a lot stronger this year. Luke Roberts got 2 goals for Russian United. And today, sad, Rob, you won't know this player, but I do because I played against him. Steve Jackson, who played in goal for Russian and then transferred to Peel. He was excellent goalkeeper, played for the island. Unfortunately, Steve's passed away. There was a minute's silence, so our thoughts are with his family. Our thoughts are with his friends at both clubs, Russian and mainly Peel. What a great goalkeeper, absolute gentleman. And it was a pleasure to play against him, and it was a pleasure to watch him play in a lot of finals in that successful Peel side. So, big loss to Manx football.
Indeed. Okay, to Ardern and Druggan Limited Combination 2. Now, we were awaiting a couple of results, Tony, between Governors Athletic versus Gyms and also Marown versus St George's.
I haven't got those. Nope. Had
no update. Ramsey Centre All Boys versus Maloo. We found out earlier today that this game had been called off. Have we found out any further details as to why that
Not too sure at all. I wouldn't like to guess what it is. I would have thought Ramsey Centre would be okay, but no information.
Okay, let's take a look at the games that we do have confirmed results for. Up in the northwest of the island, Michael United up against Pulrose United. Pulrose United, good result for them, winning 3-1 at Michael United today. Yeah,
Michael's goal scorer was Jensen Artis, who got the goal. Pulrose, I haven't got their goal scorers. I've got a little report on this one because I think it's quite handy to find out what is going on up at Michael. And a close game between the two sides, but Pulley got the luck with the first goal. Michael looked strong but had no real attacking force, although had a goal from a corner ruled out as referee didn't see it cross the line, and a penalty not given for a foul. Michael were down to 10 men, majority of the second half, but just couldn't find the finishing needed. Positive from a very young team with 11 of the 14 players, Rob, all 16 to 19 years of age. So that's great to see young players coming in, being given the chance to sort of play in the leagues, and to have 11 players. Hopefully they'll improve and make Michael a lot stronger.
Indeed, but that's putting Pulrose United at the top of the Ardern Druggan Limited Combination 2 table. 3 wins from 3, top by virtue of goal difference. The 24 goals in the opening 3 games, although we must say, Tony, last weekend they scored 18 against Douglas and District, the majority, but still looking pretty ruthless up top.
Looking pretty ruthless, and if I could take the opportunity on this, Rob, I think the FA and myself have been taking a bit of stick of what we've allowed to happen in Combination 2, with 3 teams only being allowed to have a combination team. Yes, Douglas Athletic, I saw the comments midweek, and I agree. When I saw the score, I had a look at the team sheet and I thought, wow, that's a Division 2 side, but it's up to them why they've said that they want to play combination 2. But when I look at the others, you look at Pulrose, Rob, it was only like a couple of years ago they didn't have a side, really struggling, and here you are now, the first team's flying, combination's flying. That's what the Isle of Man FA is all about, to make sure that clubs who are really finding it tough going, to give them the space where they can hopefully rebuild and get themselves together. And when you look at St Mary's have done it, when you look at Castletown have done it, Colby have done it, Douglas Royal hopefully will do it, and here you have Paul Rose showing an example. And I think it's a little bit hard to come down on us, but someone's got to be put to blame. But our important thing is to make sure that the 26 clubs are there, 26, 27 and further on.
Indeed.
Job done.
2 further games taking place today in Ardern and Druggan Limited, combination 2. Douglas Royal 3, Castletown 4. Yeah,
and it was, again, good performance by Castletown, and the standout today was Tom Collister. He got 3 of the goals, and Teddy Weatherall got the other one. But Douglas Royal, talk about last of the summer wine. You've got Connor Dempsey in here. I wouldn't say he's last of the summer wine, but the next 2 are. Stuart Foley and Kevin Ballard still strutting the stuff. They're Masters players and scoring goals as well. Kevin scored plenty over his career, but Stuart hasn't scored many. But Douglas Royal were close, but Castletown just pipped it with that 4-3 victory.
And the other game in Ardern and Druggan Limited combination 2, rounding things out, if you like, Douglaston District and Colby playing out a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, haven't got D&D's goal scorers, but for Colby, I think he's transferred from Russian, and he's a season pro, Kieran Brown. Really good player, still puts a lot of enthusiasm in the team, puts a lot of enthusiasm in his play, and he got both goals today for Colby.
Just quickly, Tony, looking at things in general. Obviously, we are very early in the season. We can't draw any conclusions whatsoever at this point. But across the divisions so far, who's impressed you so far and why?
Right, good. Well, let's forget Corinthians a little bit at the moment. Not being horrible, but we knew they were going to be strong with the players that they got back in. But Russian still chipping away, and they've showed today by beating Peel that they are strong. So well done to Russian on that one. Johnny Palmer's team at Laxey have showed character by trailing and then coming back, having players sent off, but having a couple of players of quality sent off could prove a bit of a problem for them. I think Ayr United deserve some credit because they've lost 1 or 2 really good players and put them under a bit of pressure. Peel, once they sort of get the full squad back, you'll see them push forward. Division 2, Castletown, Pulrose, Colby are sort of chipping away. Douglas Royal have slipped down the table a little bit, but I'm looking at Ramsey Youth Centre to improve on that. Combination 1, good battle going on, Russian, Corinthians and Peel. And then when you look at Combination 2, Pulrose flying. So it's good to see.
Tony, thank you very much for the moment. We'll be catching up with you in a second, but turning our attention very quickly to FC Isle of Man on what has been a tough day for them again in the NWCFL Premier Division. They went toe-to-toe with Burscough for almost up to an hour in terms of gameplay, but then it all just seemed to fall apart late on, and Burscough ruthless in the end, beating FC Isle of Man by 5-0. And it's been a long day once again for FC Isle of Man manager Paul Jones and his players. I'm delighted to say Paul Jones joins us right now after that game over at the community ground. Paul, thank you very much for your time. I know it's another busy journey back to the Isle of Man over the course of the weekend, so thank you for a few minutes of your time. It seemed like you were matching Burscough stride for stride up until the hour mark. What seemed to happen that just meant it all just seemed to, I suppose, collapse a little bit?
Yeah, we were. You're right. It was reasonably okay performance first half, and we felt we were deservedly kind of going in level, and we played well for 15 minutes in the second half and had the lion's share of the possession, and then we got caught with a couple of mistakes and a good finish, and unfortunately we didn't show the resilience needed to stick together and see the game out. And the scoreline was not something that we're happy about at all as a group. And I'm not going to say that the performance was good in places, because you can't lose a game by the scoreline we've done today. But there's lots of factors around that, and we just kind of fell away really, more mentally than anything else, and kind of capitulated towards the end a little bit. I don't think anybody stopped trying. In fact, I know they didn't, but it doesn't look good in terms of conceding 5 goals, and we're conceding far too many goals. But when we're having to make so many changes to starting 11s and so many changes to squads, then from a manager's point of view, it's quite difficult to get a group of players together who are really kind of cohesive and structured and organised. So I guess conceding as we are is reflective of just how many changes we're having to make game to game.
Just on the mental side of things that you mentioned there, you say, no matter how good a player can be physically, the mental game could be just as important in situations like that. And I know it's a question I brought up with you previously, but how do you find that balance of making sure the players get the right experience over time, it's done the right way, but getting that through to them quickly enough that they can go out and get results? How difficult is that balance?
I mean, we don't sugarcoat it with them. It's not all arm around the shoulders. But results like this and performances like this, especially in front of such a fantastic travelling group who were here today and supported everyone through to the final whistle, that does it. And they're hurting. They had some really good words for each other, and that not all of them were positive after the game. And they're a group that needs to go through some hard moments to really find that resilience and mental toughness and togetherness within the group to push on and to win games of football at this level. And it's horrible at the moment for everybody, but there's a really good mindset in terms of how they're trying to approach getting better every game and every session. And as I say, from my point of view, it'd be wonderful to pick the same 16 players game to game. But they're struggling a bit of an issue, and we are where we are, and they're only going to keep improving by pushing each other to be better and cutting out the moments that are costing us and taking advantage of the good play that we have at times and the good opportunities that we get in the opposition's box. So yeah, we're hurting. Of course we are. We don't like where we are at the moment, but we also know that if we can handle it well as a group and the individuals can handle it well, then it'll turn them into an even better group and an even better team going forwards. But they've got to learn. We all have to learn our lessons very, very quickly.
And just one last question, Paul, before we let you go. Just on the back of what you've said there, what needs to change to get results improved? What has to change? What considerations will you have to make?
I'm not leaving large numbers of players out of squads, over the course of the season. So I think, looking at consistency of availability and training attendance is important. And if we can consistently get our strongest group together week after week, then that would help. Or just consistently have a group that are playing week to week would definitely help build that kind of togetherness and robustness to, when things don't quite go in your way in the game, then you've gone through those moments together. At the minute, they're not really going through the moments they're going through together. They are as a squad over 25, 30 players, but they're not the same group of players consistently kind of experiencing stuff. With 5 changes to the starting 11 today, 4 of which are in the goalkeeper and back 4. You need those connections and you need that understanding of each other and where you need to cover and how you can help each other in and out of possession. And that's the biggest thing. But if it doesn't change, because that's just where we are in terms of the Isle of Man and players' ability to be available for 35 to 45 games of football every season, then we've got to find a way to get a group of players up to speed as quickly as possible. So when you do make changes, then there's not a noticeable drop either during the game or from the starting 11 or when you bring the substitutions on. That's kind of where we are, and that's all of our jobs to figure out how to best manage it going forwards. And it's easy for me to say, isn't it? They need time, they need patience, they need development, they need good coaching, they need lots of experience to playing against better players, and that's what they're getting at the minute. So the ones that learn and develop and commit to it and lean into it will improve quicker than those that don't, and hopefully we can then as a club have a group of players that are not just at a level to compete and have a good chance of getting 3 points, but are doing that on a consistent basis. So it's a horrible learning pit that they're all in at the moment. It's we're kind of in a place where we were kind of maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago with the group who just don't have that level of game understanding, togetherness that we need to really go toe to toe. And we're kind of having to say a lot of things that we said 3 years ago to them, which is part of it, because we're not bringing players in who are vastly more experienced and vastly more capable from a technical, tactical side of things. The players that are that are playing in the local game, which, although everybody loves, is a little bit of a step below where we're playing at the moment. So, that kind of learning and understanding and experience doesn't happen over time. We think we can really help them push on, but it's not just about demanding them do better. It's about really giving them the knowledge, skills and experience in which that can happen. And some of them will improve game to game, and some will have ups and downs over a 3 to 6 month to 12 month period. And depending on who we can select from, will kind of dictate where we're at on a game to game basis. So we really enjoy working with the group. But obviously there's clearly lots of improvement required all the way around, and I certainly hearing what was said in the dressing room after today, they're all committed to doing that and all together towards doing that. So I look forward to seeing that for the full 90 minutes on Tuesday against Cheadle. So yeah, that's all we can do. Try and improve game to game, and every training session that we have together, and the players that have less experience or less understanding of how to do things in certain areas of the game, that we support as best we can to bring them on as quickly as possible.
Well, Paul, commiserations again. Safe journey back to the island to you and the team, and thanks very much again for your time.
Cheers. Thank you.
That was FC Alderman manager Paul Jones after his side's 5-0 defeat to Burscough this afternoon. Tony, just very quickly before we move things on, we'll be chatting to Dave about rugby matters very, very shortly indeed. For FC Alderman at the moment, it just doesn't seem like there's an end in sight to this poor run of form at the start of the season at the moment, is there?
No, and they're conceding a lot of goals and they're not scoring goals. I think it's across the board confidence in the team, and you can tell by Paul's interview that he's down. Yes, the players turn up and they train hard and everything, but the mood in the camp won't be good, which will sort of affect everybody else as well. But there's not a lot you can do, because some key players have come out of it, some key players are injured, but that's what it's all about. It's a game of football, it's sport, and it's a real struggle for them. So hopefully they get something out of Tuesday's game, and then they're back at home next Saturday and try and get everyone fired up. But the crowds have dipped and everything. They're under a bit of pressure, and hopefully they can turn that corner, because they deserve it.
Tony, thank you very much as always.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, it's been an important day when it comes to rugby as well, because it is the opening weekend for 3 Isle of Man rugby sides to their respective seasons. Throughout today, Douglas got their latest Regional 2 North West campaign underway on home soil earlier, whilst Vagabonds and Ramsey were both on the road in Counties 3, ADM, Lancashire and Cheshire for game day 1. Ramsey, incidentally, their first time back in the English Club Championship system in 5 years. And keeping across everything, and the man who was out watching Douglas earlier today was our rugby correspondent, Dave Christian, who's been waiting very patiently. So, Dave, to start with, we'll start with Douglas. A good start to the season, but it was a bit of a dramatic and a bit of a tense ending at Paul Shee.
Yeah, definitely it was.
Well, we seem to be having a couple of technical difficulties with Dave. We'll look to catch up with him in just a few moments' time. But just while we do that, we will take a look at the rugby side of things in just a moment. We are quickly going to turn to boxing, because tonight sees Isle of Man professional boxer Jay Burden returning to the ring for the first time in nearly 9 months. Cancellations and postponements to bouts in 2025 mean the Grenade hasn't boxed competitively since a unanimous points win over Kerry Olsen in Birmingham in December last year. This evening, though, Burden will be hoping to extend her undefeated pro record when she faces pro debutant Sydney Chambers at Winter Gardens in Blackpool. Well, ahead of the fight, Burden told me how it feels to be back in business, if you like, after all the disruptions this year.
Manx Radio Sport.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a hard slog this year, as you could probably imagine. I was originally penciled into box in April, and then the week leading up to it fell through. So yeah, big disappointment there. I won't lie, it does affect your confidence a little bit, as it is a ticket selling game, but it just is what it is. It's out of my control. And then I was supposed to box Kirsty Hill And then whoever was the top of the bill on that card had to have surgery, so that's kind of postponed. So I am chasing that. I still want that fight. But yeah, then I've got Sydney Chambers this weekend, so I'm ready to go.
But yeah, just coming back to it, and you've just sort of alluded to it there, the kind of, I suppose, that the games that plays with you mentally when you're having these cancellations, you've done all that preparation and all the stuff behind the scenes that people don't see, like you say, selling tickets and things like that. This whole experience of the year so far with the frustrations, what has it taught you about what you need to do just to keep your head in the right space and keep yourself ticking over for when that opportunity comes?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I've had so much like bad luck that it's only kind of taught me a little bit more about myself and how much resilience that I do have, because everything's out of my control. Everything that I can control, I have controlled. But yeah, look, I'm not going to lie, it has been an emotional ride. You know, I've kind of been prepping myself to get in a place to get in the ring, and I was hoping by now that I'd be a little bit more further on down the line, but it is what it is. And what people have to remember is when I sell tickets, it's not just down the motorway for people that live here, and I am really reliant on people to buy tickets. If I don't sell tickets, I don't get to box. So, you know, there's quite a lot of expenses that go into these things. So yeah, it has been hard, but I'm ready to put on a good performance.
Turning then to this weekend, what do you know about your opponent?
I don't know anything. Do you know that's the exciting part about it is I actually don't know anything. It's her debut, so she's probably going to have a go, and that's what I want. Like, I want her to have a go. I want to be tested. I've got 6 rounds. My first 6-rounder, you know, my camp's gone really well. I feel sharp. I feel fit. I feel ready. So, yeah, I'm hoping she throws the kitchen sink at me this weekend.
If it is a bit of an unknown, does that maybe just give you a chance to just focus on your own game rather than thinking too much about how they're going to approach it?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's no point in thinking about what they're going to bring or what they're going to do, because at the end of the day, it's all about you and what you've been putting into place. I don't look at any of my opponents. I solely, you know, believe whatever my coach tells me, I just do, and that it'll pay off on the night. So yeah, you know, maybe the first round I'll kind of get a little bit of a feel for it, and then I'll go back to the corner and my coach will say, right, do this, add this. And yeah, hopefully it'll be a good night on Saturday.
Should you be successful this weekend, what's the plan from there? What would you hope this can kind of, what doors do you think this can open for you?
Yeah, well, like I said, prior to obviously an opponent change, I was penciled in to fight Kirsty Hill. So she is the current super featherweight Commonwealth champion. So that's who I want next, and I'd happily do a 10-rounder against her. I watched her. As soon as I got offered the fight, I had no doubt of my ability that I could beat Kirsty, so that's what I want next, and I've made it quite open and honest about that, so that's what I'm chasing next.
That is Isle professional boxer Jade Burden ahead of her latest pro fight, the first in nearly 9 months for her. Winter Gardens in Blackpool taking on pro debutant Sydney Chambers this evening across the water. We wish Jade all the very best of luck. Well, it looks like hopefully we'll have a successful take 2 after a couple of technical gremlins. I'm hoping we can be joined now by our rugby correspondent Dave Christian to go through the latest rugby action throughout today. 3 teams having their opening games of the season. Good evening, Dave.
Yeah, good evening, Rob. Sorry about the problems. A try for Douglas, a penalty try as well, which gave them the win against New Boys North Ribblesdale. But they won't be too bothered about that. 5 points are safely in the bag, and they'll be happy days. They've made a good start. Matty Woods took touchdown for the opener after just 11 minutes and added the conversion. Raised hopes around the ground. A couple of numbers. They hit back 10 minutes later with wing Jack Hutch down, and Tom Davidson converting to give the game 7-7. That's where it stayed until half-time. Early in the second half, Ollie Corkish bagged a try wide on the left. That put Douglas ahead by 5. Blake Snell dived in just after an hour. Nathan Robson added the conversion, and Douglas looked home and dry, 19-7 in front. But then Ribblesdale staged a revival. From the restart, after the Snell coughed up a penalty. Tom Davidson knocked that over, reduced the deficit. Skipper Ed Bradley then burrowed under a pile of bodies to make it 19-15. And with 4 minutes remaining, Henny Jansen van Rensburg, the scrum half, raced in for Ribblesdale under the posts. Davidson's conversion was good, and Ribblesdale were leading 22-19 with very little time left on the clock. Douglas, however, staged a late rally, and they forced themselves up into the Ribblesdale half, and a string of penalties close to the Ribblesdale line finally awarded them a penalty try. It was scrum after scrum. They were kicking for line-outs. There were line-out drives. Ribblesdale front row got a yellow card for deliberately pulling down a maul. So it was all action at the end, but the referee finally awarded the penalty try. He lost patience with the Ribblesdale defence, and that gives Douglas a flying start. They actually led 17-13 at half time, but they were down 33 second half. Jacob Catine with the early try for Ramsey. Congleton hit back and led 7-5. Then a try, just some penalties, so Ramsey retake the lead, and they held on to that till half time. Congleton came back strongly in the second half, added 3 unanswered scores, and led 26-13 after an hour. Ramsey captain, though, Josh Catine, he dived in to score 1 for Ramsey. Brendan Atchison's conversion saw them trailing by 26 points to 20 and within a sniff of a win, but a late converted score by Congleton dashed any hopes of a comeback. Congleton secured the bonus point win, and Ramsey actually came away from the game with nothing. At Burnley, it wasn't so good for Vagabonds either. A very tough Burnley side, skipper Dan Bonwick tells me. The game was cut short following a serious injury to a Burnley, and the referee declared the result after an hour. So Vagabonds all perfectly okay. Dan tells me that there's a few niggly injuries, but nothing serious. And next Saturday, Vagabonds will travel to Congleton for their second game.
Well, just quickly looking back over those results, Dave. So for Douglas and Regional 2 Northwest, I think you actually said on Friday Sport Preview last night that North Ribblesdale, coming up from Counties 1 Yorkshire, won all 22 of their league games last season and were a team not to be underestimated. How good were North Ribblesdale today, and really leaving it a nervous finish for Douglas?
Yeah, very nervous, Rob. In the first half, Ribblesdale had, there was a little bit of a wind blowing down the ground at Portachee, and Ribblesdale actually had most of the territorial game. They played much of it in Douglas's half, and the Douglas try, the opening score for them from Matty Woods, was pretty much against the run of play. Douglas had plenty of possession. They were trying to run it out of defence because they were playing into the breeze. That meant that all their possession was nowhere near the North Ribblesdale line. In the second half, you thought that Ribblesdale looked a bit heavier up front. They might tire. And indeed, when Douglas picked up those 2 tries and went 19-7 in front, that's what you thought was actually happening. But for the last 20 minutes, the North Ribblesdale side really turned the screws. They played a lot of the game inside Douglas's half, despite the breeze. And if they'd have won, nobody would have argued about it. They would have been deserved winners. But Douglas, get out of jail free card. They worked really, really hard for the full 85 minutes because we must have 5 minutes of stoppage time. Last play of the game was a penalty, and the game can't finish on a penalty. So Douglas managed to keep the clock ticking over. They had line out after line out. Nobody dropped a ball. The throws were all perfect. And eventually the pressure told. But North Ribblesdale will give a few teams a shock, I would think.
And looking over to how both Ramsey and Vagabonds got on in Counties 3, ADM Lancashire and Cheshire today, defeats for both. Starting with Vagabonds, like you say there, Dave, Burnley 24-0 winners, but the game unfortunately brought to a halt due to an injury to a Burnley player, and we wish the player involved a speedy recovery indeed. But for Vagabonds, I think speaking to Daniel Bonwick actually ahead of the season, when here on Manx Radio spoke to him ahead of that game against Burnley, they were expecting a big physical side to come up against. Is that, from what you understand, maybe what they've come up against today?
Yeah, pretty much. Dan messaged me with the score and some match details, and obviously it's disappointing that they didn't get over the whitewash, but it's also positive that they've held it to 24. Although the game was cut short, I don't think Vagas were likely to come back in the last 20 if them. And it's only coming to Ramsey, I think, on the 22nd of November, so we'll get a closer look at them then. But yeah, Dan has indicated they were a big tough side, and maybe they'll go a little bit better at Congleton next week.
And from Ramsey's side of things, defeat at Congleton, but a respectable scoreline to lose out 33-20. Like you say, no points to take from it, leaving empty-handed. But do you think they'll take positives from today's performance?
Oh, definitely. Until the very last minute, which was when Congleton scored that last try. Ramsey pushing forward, and as always, when you push forward to chase a game, you leave holes at the back. Congleton have broke free and managed to put a 7-pointer in at the other end, which puts a bit of a gloss on the scoreboard. Means, but they were right in that until the 80th minute. At 26-20, there's only one converted try in it, and I would think, and I'm only guessing, but the Lions will be very positive when they get back, and they're facing a tough trip to Bury next week. Haven't got Bury's result for today yet. Bury are playing Oldham at home, and we'll wait and see how they got on. No other big shocks in the league other than Orrell, who finished bottom last season. They've beaten Colne Nelson at Colne Nelson, so Orrell might be a team to watch. We'll have to wait and see, though. It's only early days, and you need 3 or 4 games just to get a feel for who's doing what.
And just a final question, Dave. Got 60 seconds here, so I'm gonna have to push this quite close. But in terms of Douglas, Vagabonds and Ramsey, like you mentioned with Orrell there, a bit of a change from what was happening last season. But there is always going to be an element of the unknown because Douglas Vagabonds and Ramsey, Vagabonds ladies respectively, as well, Nelly can prepare. But you just don't know what the opposition's going to be like around you when you go into a new season.
Yeah, Orrell have hired former international professional player Denny Solomona. Denny Solomona was last with Sale Sharks when he played, and I'm pretty certain he was international with Samoa and potentially cross-code for rugby league as well. I don't know that much about him, but Denny Solomona is at Orrell as the player coach, so expected to perhaps do a little bit better than they did last season. We don't know how player migration's gone. We know there are very few changes to the Isle of Man sides, although Matty Wood's coming in, Josh Campbell for Douglas as well. They both had good games today. Josh did a lot of work in the loose. So, the new players always make a difference, particularly if you're like Orrell and you've picked up a former top-class professional who's seeing out his playing days as a player coach. But fair play to them. We'll wait and see how that pans out. But at the moment, Ramsey and Vagabonds, pointless after today. They'll look to do better going forward.
Dave, thank you very much indeed. As always, Dave Christian, our rugby correspondent there, after we initially had a couple of technical gremlins to get around. Dave able to join us to take us through what has been a busy opening weekend for 3 of the Isle of Man's rugby teams, Douglas, Vagabonds and Ramsey. Well, that just about leaves us to wrap things up here on Saturday Sports Classified this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want details about any of the results we've discussed today, they'll be available on the Manx Radio website, manxradio.com, very shortly. Also, if you want to listen back to anything that we've spoken about on today's show, this show, Saturday Sport Classified, will be available as a podcast later tonight as well. And don't forget, outside of all of that, if you want to catch up with any of the latest Isle of Man sport news, what's going on the island and further afield with regards to Manx sport, don't forget to head on over to the Manx Radio Sports Hub at manxradio.com. And you can also visit the Manx Radio Sportscast on the Manx Radio podcast section. That gives you access to sporting podcasts diving into the details and stories of many across the different sporting backgrounds. We'll now be handing back over to Manx Radio Gold. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your evening and a wonderful weekend. So until next time, bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.